this morning we're really here to kind of celebrate. And we have done so many projects with the state that we never get a chance. We're always like putting in for a new grant, we'll do the groundbreaking, but we never get a chance to sort of circle back and look at exactly what it is, right? We never get that chance. We're just talking about that. You're always in the front, and then you never get a chance to just go back and say, well, hey, that was kind of cool. So this is a celebration of $10 million in state investment to the downtown area since 2014, and then $30 million in private investment to the match. And a lot of times government people will say, oh yeah, give us a bunch of money, government money, we'll build this, and don't worry, everybody will just sort of flock to around the project, and there'll be some private benefit to it all. And in Leominster, I can honestly say that's never happened. It's always been a real partnership where we've had public money involved and government money, and there's always been that participation in match. And again, in this situation, it was $30 million in private investment in match, and to match the $10 million that we got from the state. So the breakdown is $1.3 million for the Manusnock Brook Trail, $4 million for the repaving of Mechanic Street, that whole stretch of Mechanic with sidewalks, granite curbs, $1.3 million in the Adams Street MassWorks grant that we received, $2.5 million in this last round of MassWorks grants, and even in our original application, reviewing it, going back to it, we're actually seeing it's exceeded itself. It met what it was supposed to do, but now it's actually exceeding itself. So there's the partnership working. And then again, an $800,000 grant that we're going to have on Mechanic and 3rd Street. And that may seem like a big deal for a park, and it's $800,000, but the kids on French Hill, as we call it, on the east side, there's no place for kids to play. Nowhere. There wasn't one place. So where do kids play? Coincidentally, if you remember, people talk about the word street hockey. Street hockey was literally invented. It was fabricated and tested, all of their products, on French Hill from kids playing in the street. That's where, and then they built a sample hockey rink where they would let us go in and play occasionally to test the equipment, right? To see whether those plastic blades that you took off an old wood hockey stick, it slid over because we couldn't afford real hockey sticks.
Wow.
And so they literally played in streets, and now they're going to have a place where they can actually go and have a place where they can take a wiffle ball or a frisbee and just run, which is something. So police department would always get calls like, yeah, the kids are blocking the street, we can't get by. And the kids would like have a game going, and then they'd set it off to the side, let people go by. And that's just the way life was. If you lived on French Hill, and somebody foreign that was either lost or whatever would call and say, oh, this is like kids playing in the street. Like, you don't see that, right? I mean, today you don't see that.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, that's a lot of things that have been going on, and we're really appreciative. So anyway, our speaker that you all came here for, you come here to listen to me speak, has been in every city and town in the state, which is how many? 3? Do you count Devens? Is Devon counted or is it a city or town?
351 plus Devens, we say.
So, you know how they always say the president is 43 or whatever, so we're just going to start calling her Lieutenant Governor 351.
That's fine.
And I have a license agreement to put out all that paraphernalia and shirts. So anyway, let's give a warm welcome to our Lieutenant Governor 351, Karen Polito.
Very happy to start the week here with all of you here in great city of Leominster. I've spent a lot of time here as a mother on Doyle Field, battling it out, watching my son, and we've left a lot on that field. You're certainly got a reputation for good sports, good schools, and a great community. I'm joined this morning with our Secretary of Economic Development, Jay Ash, who's also well-traveled here across our Commonwealth. And he's right on my heels, I think, having visited most every community as well.
Nobody is even close to you.
And I just, being a former local officials, both Charlie and I served as selectmen. Jay is the city manager in Chelsea. I see the mayor, you see Claire Frieda, who's longtime local official. Both the mayor and Claire have been very helpful and supportive to our administration right out of the box. I remember early on forming a group of local officials to help us figure out how we were going to build a stronger Commonwealth from one end of the state to the other. 4 years ago, and the mayor and others gathered around and helped advise us around a best practices program, and said if we can strengthen local government, give you more tools to work with in your toolkit, you can drive better services, you can do better planning, you can prepare for your future. And we have indeed followed your advice and have now signed 351 best practice agreements with every city and town in this Commonwealth. So that means every community is doing what Leominster's doing in terms of, first of all, gathering your leaders. Who are the people that wake up every day in a community and worry about it, think about it, plan for it? The elected leaders, the appointed leaders, the business community. And then when you get people like that in a room and you challenge them, say, what is it that you want for your community? What does your future look like? Are you mapping it out? Is there a plan? Is there a vision? And when you go to communities, sometimes they have it all figured out, and sometimes they don't. And sometimes the room isn't as populated as this is, and it's just a couple of people. So both the secretary and I and the governor and our team have kind of figured out through local government, who the team players are in each community, and then have helped them either develop that vision and that plan, or if you already have one, invest in it. And then now we're seeing all throughout the Commonwealth stories like this that are being told in downtowns, on main streets, in rural communities, in suburban communities, in eastern communities, western communities, north and south, all throughout the Commonwealth. Each community is working on something to improve the quality of life for the people who live there. And I often say, people judge how things are going, not by the standards set on Beacon Hill, but by the standards set in your community. How do I feel as a mother or a father for my kids? Do they have good schools to go to? How do I feel as a working person? Do I have a good job? Is there opportunity for me to earn even more? Or how do I feel as a business owner, in a downtown like Leominster? Is there going to be enough foot traffic? Should I start up a business? How are things looking in that community? So we think about that, not because our jobs physically are at the State House, but we think about how you feel in your communities. And I think that's really helped us in terms of our policies, in terms of our investments, in terms of our decisions around budgeting. I want to give Claire Frieda a lot of credit. She's someone that really is in tune with her community, has never forgotten where she's come from, and has been a true friend to me personally in my work in the communities. She has been a longtime member of the LGAC, the Local Government Advisory Commission, that meets almost monthly at the State House. She's never missed a meeting. And one of the more recent meetings, she came to talk about the MassWorks program that we're highlighting today. And she told the story. And I use that as an example because as I come to Leominster, and I have 4 other stops today in central Massachusetts, in every community, I feel a sense of pride. I feel a sense of ownership. And people want to show off, something good that's happening in their community. And that's real. That's a real asset. That community pride, that sense of commitment, and that sense of preparing for the next generation of people who you want to have start their family, start their business, and dig their roots even deeper in a community. And we feel, we talk about this a lot, when the next generation stays in a community and starts their life, that's stability. And that's part of the story that you can tell and we can tell as a Commonwealth. So thank you, Claire. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Secretary, for your good work. The Secretary, when he started on this journey with us, did a tour around the Commonwealth to inform his thinking around economic development, housing development, community development. And the tour was branded Opportunities for All. And that phrase has really been at the center of our compass as an administration. How can we think and plan and invest so that we create opportunities for all throughout the state? And one of the ways we've been able to do this is through this MassWorks infrastructure program. This is like bread and butter stuff. And this is the toolbox, if you will, with the resources in it and the tools in it that can really unleash opportunity in a community. When you think about these investments, $10 million of investment, whether in housing, road work, intersection, lighting, streetscape, trails, adding up to 10 million, unleashes 30 million and more. Because when you think about these buildings, what they look like, and not populated with people moving around the downtown, not generating the tax revenue that you need as a community to be able to deliver good services. These buildings now have working individuals and families. These are people that are out and about downtown looking for restaurants and services and banking and places to go and things to do. The trail that just opens up a beautiful natural asset that you have, gets people during the work day out and about. I'm sure you can go out and have lunch, you can walk along the waterfront, you can convene a meeting outside. It just creates some culture and some vitality that was always there but not really revealed. And then of course, just the whole downtown looks good. When we drive through communities, that's one of the things that we check out. How are the sidewalks? How's the lighting? Those basic things are sort of a signal to the larger community, your visitors, your customers, your guests as they come to visit you. People around here care. When you see the flags and you see the sidewalks in good condition, you see people out and about, you see plants, and it looks good because you have people who care about this community. So the MassWorks program and Mass DOT and all of us working together, state and local coming together, the dollars are important, but the dollars when they come into a project need to actually do all the things that we're celebrating today. And one of the things that the Secretary's always been very, very committed to is the fact that these grants are competitive. We have a grant round that just closed August 10th, so that was, when was that?
Friday.
That was Friday. And we had over 100 applications. So not every application can get honored on the first try, maybe the second or even third try. So these competitive rounds. But one of the things that he looks at is, does it create more housing? Does it create more jobs? Does it create more revenue for the community? And if we invest these dollars, is there skin in the game for the city or the municipality? You put in your own money here. And is there private money that will also come to the table? So it's not just state government driving the project and footing the bill. And the ultimate question that has to be answered when these applications come in is, can you complete this? So we don't want to just invest in a project to invest in it. We want it to get done. And so we know that there's a leadership team that will make sure the project gets done, and you've been able to attract the private investors because of the same reason. So this is a home run, my friends. I want to thank you for your leadership, for your vision, for your planning, for being ready to take this on. And it's a day of celebration for your community to have achieved this awesome result. As the governor often says, when you find things that are working, keep doing more of it. So we intend to do more of this thanks to our partners in the legislature. We now have another $250 million of MassWorks funding to award to the communities across this Commonwealth and to do more of this. Massachusetts is a great state, great state, great place to live, great place to raise your family, great place to work. We're #1 on a lot of different measuring points. Schools, the economy, healthcare, all of those things. One of the areas that we are challenged with because of the growth in our economy, because a lot of people want to be here in Massachusetts, because the investments that we're making in life sciences and the innovation economy, we need more housing. We need housing that's not only affordable for the demographic that we all need to serve, but housing that's affordable to working families and to the next generation, is within reach for people to be able to either buy or rent a home that they can incorporate into their lifestyle. And we measure that at least over the next 5 years that we need to produce 135,000 more units of housing. So we have plans on how we want to do that, but we can't do this alone. We clearly need our municipal partners to embrace the zoning and the planning to have housing like this incorporated into your housing portfolio. But we also need private investment, and that's clearly evident here. Investors that can look at an old building and say, there's potential there. I like the bones of the structure, I like where it's situated, and I like the community. I want to invest there. So we're going to continue to do a lot as an administration around building more housing, not just in Eastern Mass. You know, Eastern Mass is booming. You go to Boston, you see all these cranes. We need them through communities all across our state. Our larger cities, our smaller cities, and our suburban and rural areas as well. So you'll see us continue to make a commitment around housing. So today is a great day. Congratulations to all of you. Thank you for coming to mark this moment. And I look forward to speaking with the council and the mayor about what's next for Leominster. We'll continue to work together in the bipartisan manner that is really producing results for the people of this Commonwealth. So congratulations, thank you. And with that, I'd like to now turn it over to Secretary Ash to give you his perspective on the future of our Commonwealth. This is a big topic for you.
Thanks, everyone. First, a disclosure. When I started 3.5 years ago with then the new Lieutenant Governor, we had a little bit of a challenge. We would come to a cabinet meeting at the end of every week, and we'd tell the governor how many communities we had visited during that week. And I'd be proud that I went to 5, and the Lieutenant Governor would come in and say she went to 7. And so the next week I'd go to 7, and the Lieutenant Governor would say she'd been to 10. So I'd go to 10, and then it was 14. Finally, I gave up. She's not only been to all 351 communities, she's been to all 351 communities. What I mean by that is she just hasn't driven through, taken a picture and continued on. Some of us may have done that. She's actually stopped. She's talked to local officials, she's met with local businesses, she's engaged local people, and has come back and helped to really augment what we do in my department in housing and economic development. At the end of the day, as she said, and as the governor believes, it's all about what you do on the local level and how we can help you on the local level. And we're so pleased to be part of something special here and in 350 other communities around the state. I also stopped trying to keep up with her. I've been to about half the communities. I also stopped trying to keep up with her because every now and then you find somebody who's doing it right and you want to come back again and again and again. And that's my old friend, Mayor Mazzarella.
Don't say old. It's my birthday this week. Old, I'm feeling a little old. No.
I always speak the truth, Dean.
Old.
And by old, I mean that when I was a kid in municipal management, and I asked around to my fellow managers and mayors, who's a person that you should take a look at and try to emulate? Dean Mazzarella's name continued to come up. You've been influential here in Leominster.
I figured I made all the mistakes. If you want to know who made all the mistakes, come see me.
This could sound like a wake if you want. You could we could view you. And you know, you've not only been impactful here, but I don't know that you're fully aware of this, but you've had an impact on many other communities because you've provided an example for the rest of us to try to emulate. And so, while physically I may look down on you on occasion, you should know that I've been looking up to you for a long time. And much of what you've done here is what we wish for other communities. When I drive through this downtown, I see a vibrant downtown. And people ask me all the time, Jay, what's the single most important thing we can do in our community to maintain and enhance its vibrancy? And it's about downtowns. It's about creating places where people want to shop and eat. It's about creating places where people want to enjoy culture and recreation. It's about creating places where people want to live. And you've done it here, and you've set an example for others. And we're pleased to be part of that. The Lieutenant Governor and the Governor love the MassWorks program so much that they've increased the funding for the MassWorks program by 80%, so that we can reach more and more communities and do more and more of these type of projects. And a MassWorks program, it's a classic economic development tool. Public sector comes in and does infrastructure in return for the private sector coming in and doing investment there afterwards. We're here today to validate the money that we've spent in Leominster, so that when I go through the list of things that Mayor Mazzarella gave me this morning in his meeting, which was supposed to be half an hour and it lasted an hour because he just kept on rattling other ideas, other opportunities. We wanted to validate what was happening here so that we can feel even better about making the next investment. Like the Lieutenant Governor, I congratulate all of you. I think the Mayor would be the first to say it's not about any one of us, it's about all of us. You as a community here in Leominster continue to come together, continue to promote a vision, and continue to be a welcoming place for people from all ages, all backgrounds, all experiences to come and come together as a community. And so it's natural that we would want to be here, it's natural that we would want to support you, and we're very fortunate to be in a place to do that. Back on Beacon Hill, what you should know is that we have a great thing going on. We've got Republicans and Democrats working together. We got the governor's office working together with the legislature. Your legislators are part of the group of legislators that voted to give the governor another $1 billion to go around the state and talk about all kinds of great economic development activities. So it's a really special time on Beacon Hill, in part because you're sending legislators who want to look past petty politics and instead find good public policy that help to promote communities and allow for businesses and people in those communities to grow. So we have the resources available. We will continue to look for communities that are doing it and doing it right, and I suspect that this will not be the last time that the Lieutenant Governor and the Governor myself will be back in Leominster sharing in your success and helping to propel your vision forward. So congratulations everybody, and I'm going to go back to the State House and tell my staff, Jackie's here from my staff who manages this program, I'm going to tell my entire staff that yes, Leominster did get it right, and we should continue to look favorably on future applications that come in. So Mayor, congratulations.
Thank you. And I think, one of the things the Lieutenant Governor and obviously Jay, Secretary, talk about is those partnerships. And while they're everywhere, some things just happen on their own, right? People call it luck or whatever. And there are parts of the state where things happen on their own. And we have like this incredible team of people because things just don't happen. We really have to go the extra distance to make things happen here. We do. There are places where there are cranes, I won't mention those places, but things just happen on their own because of where they are, right? I mean, things happen on the ocean because of where they are. We don't have an ocean, but we have some salt water in a tank somewhere. But you got to work with it. And the reality is that everything we do here, we have to work really, really, really hard at. And everybody has to be a partner, from the people that design these things. And the greatest compliment I think we get every day of the week is that people are, Mr. Russo, we were just on the phone the other day, and one of the things that he said was, it's a delight to work with the city and its departments and its inspectors. When do you hear that? Usually it's, oh my God, you go to City Hall and it's like they don't want you here and you can't get them to call you back. And that's not the case at all. Is we realize that these projects can't happen unless we build partners. From the people that design them, the people that work in these projects, the contractors, and it's the greatest reward we can get is when somebody says, I feel like I belong here, like I should live here, like I've lived here all my life, and that's as a result of everybody in the room here. It's really you that have helped to create that kind of environment, whatever piece you played in these projects. And let me tell you, some of these projects, this project here sat here since '84, and nothing happened. I know the fire department, the police department, this is, the deputy chief and the chief are here, and another one of our deputy chiefs. I mean, every day we were just worried that something was going to happen in these buildings, that you just couldn't stop kids or vagrants from getting in. We're just worried we weren't going to have a building left. And we showed Jimmy's building over here, I mean, that city place, we must have showed that to every developer. We had a bus tour, they brought in for the bus tour, we all took a bus tour, we had all these investors, and every one of them looked at the building, and every one of them left. And then it took a local guy to, come in and turn it around. So we work really hard, and that's the other thing I think that when it comes time to applying for grants is that on the other side, they realize that we work really, really hard here, everybody, across the board, no matter who you are. If you're a custodian at City Hall or one of the buildings, or you're the guy that puts the flag up every day at the post office, every single person plays a major role. It isn't just an act, it's a role that we play because we'll never be Boston, we'll never be Cambridge, but we'll be the best middle-sized city there is in New England and in Massachusetts, and that is what our goal is. And we couldn't do it without your help, but we want you to know this team here, and this is only some of it, are working really, really hard. Most of the people that invest here are people that lived here, and still have investments here. Many cities and towns, the mayors will say, we really, people come in off the highway, the pike, they go in, they do their work, and we really don't see them. Well, let me tell you, I see them. Trust me, I see them. Everywhere I go, I see them. And that's a very positive thing. Before I move on to Ryan Dunn from Enterprise Bank, I just wanted to, Carissa Rowe is here. Carissa is responsible for our design here on the Moosonok Brook project and a number of other projects here. Taylor Landry from Rep Higgins' office is here. Cindy from Senator Tran's office, Councilor Frieder, and then a lot of the team here for the city that are here work every single day. We never get a chance ever because we're always pushing forward to have a look back. But this is a result of your work, and it's not easy. And sometimes it doesn't move as fast as we want it to move. When the recession hit, we dug out from 1994, just coming through a recession. We're just starting to feel like we're digging out, and then the next recession hit in 2008. And literally, you couldn't even see a tractor or a dump truck or something that showed progress. We were worried about whether people would survive the Christmas season in the retail world. We had over 50% vacancy rate, and that doesn't take into consideration these buildings because then it goes up to around 70% vacancy rate between the bottom storefronts and the upper levels. 70% vacancy rate to now we're down to probably around 5% vacancy rate, and those will fill themselves up. That can only happen from a bunch of people working really hard, and it didn't matter which department or which investment company they were from, or what the contractor was. It was really a team effort to say, look, we can sit around and feel bad for ourselves and put ugly signs in windows, but instead we put signs in the windows that said, the space isn't empty, it's full of opportunity. And it was. And there are plenty of people in the back over there that get a lot of credit because they invested in Leominster, and when it was a bad economy and people would look at you like, you're investing in what? Where? This is not where it's happening. And you made it a place where it is happening. So one of our key partners, Ryan Dunn, Regional Commercial Lending Manager, is here, and to say a few words about his role. And again, thank you to Enterprise Bank. You really figured it out.
I just wanted to say before I begin, I think I was out here a couple of weeks ago, and none other than Dean was out there trying to locate a good place for the flagpole. So he's not only talks, but he actually takes action. So it's nice to see that. Thank you for your support. I'll start with a few thank yous because really this was a team effort. And the team effort extended beyond people in this room, but it started with the state, with the city, a vision that we had of this property, as well as a great contractor as well to build what we did here. But first wanted to thank the Lieutenant Governor for not only being here when we broke ground, being here when we opened the building, and being here today. Selfishly, we kind of are glad that it rained because you could come in to experience this room, which we call the community room because we use this for the community. Businesses, nonprofits, we say, come here, we've got space for you. Sometimes it's really tough to find good quality space, or it gets real expensive. We say, come here and use our facility because this is meant for the community and it's built for the community. So part of everything that's happened here, it's important for us to give back because that's part of the goal of a partnership that I think Dean has mentioned a few times. We wouldn't be able to do this without the city and Dean at the helm really helping us, the city workers, all the officials, people, some of the people lined up in the hallways, even the police detail. Everybody was part of this project and really enjoyed it. I know the city workers worked feverishly to get the sidewalks and the drainage done for a grand opening and then to continue to help throughout that. Again, it was a nice partnership and people enjoyed it. Walter Bennett of Bennett Construction built the building. He worked with the city a bit, obviously, on a lot of aspects of this and spoke very highly of how the city works. He's also, a Leominster guy in business, and it was just as important for him to make a statement here as anything else, but he really did a fantastic job. I think a lot of people even commented how nice this fits in to this community. It matches, it belongs here, it looks like it's been here for a while. The site had a lot of history with the Columbia Hotel after the fire. You know, it lay dormant for a bit like some other projects have, and we saw the vision of what this could be, and we're very thankful for everybody's support in pulling that together. Also, a special thanks to Luke Bouchard, who's somewhere hiding in the hallway of Enterprise Bankers out there. Luke really was instrumental from the bank's perspective, pulling this all together and making this project happen with all the partners we just mentioned. But one thing about the state funding and the city help, some of these projects here and other projects that we have supported with financing or other things, they just wouldn't have happened unless we had them.
Right.
So whether it's tax credits, whether it's direct grants, MassWorks, these types of things are pivotal to make these happen. Because a lot of investors will look at some of these buildings and say, you know, I can't do it, it's just too expensive. But if you do this in partnership with others, you can make it work. And frankly, that's what makes us even a deeper part of the community, because we'll look deeper to find ways to make a project financeable and to get revitalization into the city, which takes a team effort across the board to make that happen. We're very proud to be part of the MassWorks grant and our little piece of it. Obviously, there's a lot of other incredible projects that have been done here, but even though it's a small piece, the aesthetics are very important to downtown, as I think you were saying earlier. Just driving through, you get the sense of the community, and I think this block, because it's the entire block, it's very visible now and it's beautiful, and people see that as an asset to the community as we do. So we're proud to be part of this historic project. There's a lot of other thank yous to go around that frankly we've said before, but very proud to be part of that and have you in our community room and enjoying at least another great asset to the community and to the city of Leominster. So thank you very much for your support.
We'd asked Enterprise Bankers that was done the project, we wanted some remnants or something here that sort of a remembrance or you know, some historic reference to the Columbia building. And I came by one day and there's like crews, I don't mean a crew, crews setting up these two pillars out front here with a granite slab to it. I mean, they spent a couple of weeks working on it, went way above and beyond to make sure that it's fitted really well down here, and we have something to sort of reflect back on in that terms. I wanted to thank Wendy Weeks, she's our grant writer, and we just, you know, we can sit around tables and talk all about it, but it's got to actually go to paper. So guys, we're especially really good at that. We're like idea people, but we're really horrible at it. But Wendy puts it all together so we can get all these grants, and she does a really good job at it. She's probably the best around, so thank you. Again, as I said, each of these projects, it was said over and over again, we just didn't know. I mean, imagine for 20 years, 25 years, showing people the same building over and over and over again, and then having them just say, in fact, the Russo's building here, so they were in showing the building and a real estate person, and they were walking around the building, and all of a sudden they realized the guy with the flashlight was gone. It had fallen, right, Chief? He had fallen through the floor. There was an opening in the floor. And imagine, he's just walking around showing everybody the place with the flashlight, and he disappears. And it's dark, and they can't find him. So many people looked at this building. They found it all. Everybody that went in, but, you know, it got to the point where we're just like, I don't know what's going to happen. Well, I don't know if we'll ever save these buildings. And then, again, each of these developers came in and believed in our community and in our city, and it really made a difference. So Cindy Russo from LD Russo Construction is one of those people who give us a few words about their 40 units of housing that people are just starting to move in.
Thank you. So it's been almost 4 years since we at LD Russo began our efforts to restore this former piano factory, which is at 140 Adams Street. As you've all heard, and I'm sure many of you remember, the building had long been abandoned and had really fallen into disrepair. There's a before picture over there, but it doesn't really do it justice. So our goal was to take what had become an eyesore and create an asset for the city of Leominster. And I'm happy to say that the project is now complete. And that former piano factory is now Ivory Keys Apartments with 41 units of affordable housing. Good name, huh?
That's awesome.
Not my idea, but I like it. The first tenants moved in 2 weeks ago. Of course, I'm biased, but I think the building is beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Thank you. The renovation has really maintained the historic character. The apartments are brand new, but they still have the high ceilings and the big windows of the historic mill building that it is. I think the tenants are going to love it. So Ivory Keys is a true public-private partnership. That's what we're talking about today, and we really are one. The utility upgrades, the new sidewalks, repaved roadways that were funded by the MassWorks grant, they were so important to the project. But that's not the only public-private partnership that we had. Ivory Keys received low-income housing tax credits and subsidized loans from DHCD, home funds from the Fitchburg-Leominster Home Consortium, state and federal historic tax credits, bond financing from Mass Development, and construction and permanent loans from Enterprise Bank. Jim Adams hung in there with us for a long time. I don't see him right now, but thank you, Jim.
He's back there. He thinks he's in trouble. No, something.
No. So we are so grateful in particular for the consistent and enthusiastic support that we received from the mayor and from the city over this entire period. We've worked in other communities and it's never been anything like this. Leominster has been a pleasure to deal with. And we are really, really proud to have been a part of the revitalization of what is now our Leominster neighborhood. Thank you very much.
See that? You had all the ideas. I'm sure you told her, and then she had to write all done, right?
You know, the brains.
Next is another local developer that did some other projects and did a really good job in some tough economic times when other people weren't willing to take the risk. Jim Whitney from Whitney Companies. Jim and his daughter are here today, and it's a family, right? Can I say it? He thinks he's in charge, but we know who's really in charge. It's that kind of arrangement,
I
right?
want to be in charge.
Trying to get out of it. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you. I can't stress enough how much the MassWorks grants helps these projects. Back in 2008, when I bought 40 Spruce Street, which is Whitney Square now, it was in shambles. The whole neighborhood was in shambles. There was a 10-foot high fence that was going around the whole place. There was trash everywhere. The roads were a mess. The sidewalks were a mess. When we were kids, that used to be the main thoroughfare down Whitney Street to get to Searstown. Nobody was even driving down the road anymore because the roads were so bad and it was so unlit and everybody was scared to go there. We got a grant. I don't even remember how much it was, but when I bought the building, I thought I'd fix it up just for general storage. Contractors might be able to use it. When we got the grant money and we actually brought the sidewalks up, lighting, new pavement, it made a huge difference in the people that were starting to look at the property and actually brought the values up, and we were able to attract higher end tenants. It was incredible the difference that it made. And after we finished that and bought City Place, I called up the mayor, told him I was interested in buying it, and asked him if we could apply for the same type of grants, and when we got them, that project there was in, I think, the lowest of economic times around here. And when we started it, doing the building and doing the infrastructure and the road at the same time, to look down that street from Pleasant Street and see the amount of workers that were working in the street and on the buildings was unbelievable to see everybody get put back to work. And I think without the grants, we probably could have made the buildings something, but nowhere near what they are now. I mean, we could have gone in there and put vinyl siding on the buildings and maybe used it for storage or some lower end rentals, maybe, but in order for us to get to the quality of the buildings that are there now, the MassWorks grants was the only way that was going to happen. And I think people don't understand, the general public really doesn't understand that there's no way that we could have made those work just on our own. The numbers just don't work. I mean, we got a TIF from the city for the lofts building, but besides that, it was private investment. It was just ourselves. There was no grants or anything that we got on the properties. And now we've got 51, in the lofts we've got 51 apartments, and we've got 10,000 square feet, which is the YMCA, and then an additional 40,000 square feet of businesses that are on a piece of property that, when I bought it, was full of homeless people, that I had chased out of Whitney Street when I did that building.
Well, they relocated.
And they relocated to my building, and then I chased them out and they went over to Lou's building. So it really made a huge difference, and I think that property there, Bill could probably speak better of it, but I think I was paying $10,000 in taxes when I bought it, and it's bringing in over $100,000 a year to the city right now. That's just that one property. That's not including Lou's property and everybody else's property that's in the area that has brought the values up, the taxable income for the areas. And there's no way that would have happened without the MassWorks. So I thank you guys.
Is there really a next page? A big thank you again to the DPW for putting together all the numbers for the MassWorks grants and helping to all get it done. We're all over the place there. We do our own water lines, and we're over optimistic in December and January when it comes time to go. It's sometimes a little bit testing, right? But we always pull it off, though, right? But but we always pull it off. Wendy Weeks again for the grant writing. Joe Poirier, we changed all the lights down between the fire department and the DPW by ourselves on our own. We changed them all around and put all these new ornamental lights in. Roger Brooks instrumental in their LED lights and all of the projects that we do. And a special thanks, again, these are all local people. Maybe they don't live in town, but they live real close by and they continue to invest. Peter Bovenzi, when the recession came, it hit Peter hard, right? I mean, it hit hard. It hit hard. And Peter could have chose to just run for the hills and say, you know, I've done it. I've been at it since I was 20. And you know, move on to something else and go to work for another company. But he didn't, and he stayed here, and he held through to the recession, and back pushing harder and faster ever. His new restaurant will be opening soon. We're all excited about that, right?
Right.
We're all excited about that. Buildings are just about full, Eric. I mean, just about everything's full.
Yeah, it's been great.
They have new 55 and older and new apartment buildings going on in the central side of the city. John Clementi's back there. Where's John? He continues to invest in the city and owns property, and it's made investments again through the recession when people weren't exactly bullish on Leominster. Continued to make those investments. Clearly the Whitney family and the Russos and so many others, and Neil back there and Tara. Businesses that are 2 people, some employ 10 or 15, but all of these people cumulative fill up. And one way you can tell is look at the parking lots. And at one time, you could park anywhere you wanted, any lot, anywhere. In fact, there was one time when people were talking about demolishing the parking garage over there. Every single parking space in the downtown is now full. And that's from a lot of hard work from a whole lot of people. So people, if I was young again, I'd own 10 businesses in Leominster. I really would. I'm bullish on the city only because from on the inside, I see what's going on. It's still affordable to have a business here. You have all the right people in place. You have a good relationship with the state, our representatives, everyone. It's the pure example of a team effort where no one department thinks this is my job and the rest of it is not. That's the other person's job. No silos here. We're silo free. And so for young people or people that are looking to start a business, really, you should look towards Leominster. And we have plenty of people that can give their testimonies as to why they're here and how it's been good for them and their families, the city, and everybody else. And I think that's exactly what the Lieutenant Governor and Governor had in mind when they ran for office, is this exact example of what they want for every part of the state. Now I have one final question. Did you really go to Holland, Mass?
Holland, Mass.
Holland, Mass? Did you really go there? Has anybody been there? Roger, figures.
And I've been to Peru, Florence.
Peru, Florence.
Florida, all in one day. All in one day. Imagine me.
But the one I always wondered about is Holland, Mass. I always see it on the sign like, Holland. Roger, you really been there?
Oh, yeah.
Bill, you been there? Oh, yes. Anyway, that complete. You're official.
Um,
Lieutenant Governor, 351.
Thank you.
Thank you all.